Hello, everyone. So it is Thursday, August 13th, and I am back from Terrificon, which happened the 7th to the 9th. Had a couple things to get through for a couple of days, but I decided to make a video about my art haul. And I guess haul means different things to different people. I decided to go Hobgoblin heavy this year. But at the same time, I also had an idea closer to the show that I was able to put into action. I'm trying to figure out which one to do, because my stack of commissions here I'm really happy with. And yet my project over here I'm really happy with. So I'll guess I'll start with the small sketchbook. This is a sketchbook of like second tier villains, loser villains and such. Now, I believe I've showed this before. I started with, because I like him so much, he doesn't belong in here, but what the heck. I got another one that doesn't belong in here too. I had Pat Oliff a few years ago do Hobgoblin. Pat Oliff was there. How can I not get something from him? And if I'm going to get something from a Spider-Man artist, I can't not get Hobgoblin these days. And I love it. It's a great version of Hobgoblin. So then I decided to get something that is kind of a second tier villain, but more like call it a 1B or so. And this was also a couple of years ago. This is 2023. Tombstone. And this was by Dean Kotz. I've seen him online, and he does some really nice stuff. And I thought Tombstone and his complexion and the dark clothes would fit right in, and he did a great job. I got a little partial Spider-Man mask that he's holding in there. And so then I worked with Ryan Santos to get a jack-o'-lantern, and this was a few years ago. I also had the Frame Brothers draw the Spot. And if you know the Spot, he comes out in different spots. And so there's a leg over there. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to put here. So the Frame Brothers did the Spot. I had Tom Derenick. I think this was last year. He did Razorback. And also Chris Giarusso did Beetle, the original Beetle. All right. So I also had Russ Braun and the Frames do Hammerhead. The Frames added the color. And Rich Henneman do Jackal. Okay, so on to this year. I had decided, oh, and by the way, this was last year also, Ryan Higgins did Frogman, and I needed a full body on this one because of the springs, and he's hanging off the Spot's arm. Anyway, I was really happy with that as well. So here we are this year. And I decided on White Rabbit. I have a list in here, and I decided on White Rabbit, like from the Marvel team-ups. And that was done by Tom Ryan. A very nice rendition of White Rabbit. Can't hate that. So I was at a booth helping out, and they had some of these Marvel figures, and I noticed they had the shopping bag Spider-Man version. And I looked at that, and I was thinking how embarrassed Peter Parker must have been, or should have been. And so I decided, even though it's not a villain, it's still embarrassing enough to put in the villain. So I had an artist do the Baghead Spider-Man, and his last name is Neidlinger. I think it's Dan Neidlinger, and here we go. The shopping bag Spider-Man with a little web action coming here in his Fantastic Four outfit that he borrowed from Johnny Storm. So, and that's it so far. I have several other villains that I'm looking to add to this book. And since it's small, it's not costing me tons of money. Usually it's about $40 to $50 per villain. And that's a good thing. You're going to see me moving around a little because I forgot to get a book out of my box regarding the project. So I'm still. This is like a work in progress. And just give me a minute, and I will find what I am looking for. And here it is. Okay. All right. And it is one of my favorite Batman covers, but you're not going to see it yet. So sorry for the slight delay. I'll do that one last. So here we go. I have made my own little boards years ago. 110 pound from Staples, and I added my own little graphic on it. It's minor, but it has a little bit of color, and so I would always know if somebody copied it for whatever reason. If it doesn't have the color, then it isn't original. So this is from Kieran Dwyer, and it is, of course, Hobgoblin. Like I said, I'm going Hobgoblin heavy this year. I asked for kind of a bust, which I thought it was going to be something along these lines and up. And I got a thighs up, a torso, whatever you want to call it. I was very happy with that. He asked me what style I was looking for, and I said 80s or so, not too demonic, and I did a great job. I'm a fan of the hoodie. I prefer smaller tail, so it would have been a little smaller, but there's nothing wrong with what I got. You got to let the artist be the artist. Then I went to Ron Friends, and I asked for Hobgoblin, and I got a beautiful Hobgoblin. I also like the fact that Ron Friends signs it in a different color. So I got a little blue down here, a little red up here. And the same thing, I asked for the headshot level. And so I figured it was going to be kind of like something from here up. He added the hands and the pumpkin bomb. Perfect Ron Friends Hobgoblin. Classic mid-80s or so with the short little nub on the back. Exactly the Hobgoblin I like. So then I decided to go visit Charles Paul Wilson III, who does the Stuff of Legend. That's the book he does. So oftentimes, which is about stuffed bears. So oftentimes he draws stuffed or plush commissions. I thought the Hobgoblin would make a very good plush commission. So I asked him for it. I didn't know what I was going to get, actually. I was hoping for something more than just a headshot, and I got more than a headshot, and I was very happy with it. So here is my Charles Paul Wilson. By the way, these are 8.5 by 11, 110 pound at Staples. I got a full body on a glider, and he is kind of heading right for the bird here, and the bird knows it. So I thought the bird add-on was great. I would have been happy with just the Hobgoblin. Granted, I wouldn't have minded it if it was, say, 10 or 15% bigger, but the bird helps cover some of the space here. And I had seen that he does draw slightly smaller, and that was just part of the deal. But I'm really, really happy with this. And these are not overly expensive. The Ron Friends was $150, and then the Kieran Dwyer and Charles Paul Wilson were $100 a piece. So I was also able to get something from one of the headliners, David Finch. And sometimes, I'll say that sometimes you get lucky. And I've seen instances where you ask somebody to draw something, and they're going to draw what you ask, but you might not get the full effort, or you'll get the standard effort, which is usually what you expect. But sometimes, for whatever reason, you ask for something and you get more effort. Maybe it was the time of day, and so I asked for Hobgoblin, and I got this beautiful David Finch Hobgoblin. I mean, he just kept drawing on it. And all the little details. I was trying not to bother him. I didn't want to talk to him. I just wanted him to do. It was just some very minor chatting going on. There wasn't anybody hanging around the table. And so in that regard, I was lucky. Nobody was kind of disturbing him. And I figured I'd just let him go. And I kept wondering, because he was doing so much here, and this up here was still kind of a light outline. I figured at some point, he's just going to move up here, kind of go up here with the pen, come over here, maybe a tiny bit of shading, and he was going to hand it back to me. Nope, he just kept going with all the detail all the way around here. I got very lucky with this. And honestly, I will not bother the guy again, because I got what I want, and I'm very happy with it. And I'll let other people have their spots. So there's that. So now we're coming to the project. So one of my favorite Batman covers is from Detective Comics 457. It's, in my head, I keep thinking, this is what Bruce is thinking. It's in his head all the time. It's part of his being at this point. This image rarely leaves his mind. And I was looking at it, and I thought to myself, I can do something with this instead of just a straight recreation. I've done several jams. I've posted them, and I've been happy with all of them. Some are simple, some are a little more. I have one that's a 2-page jam. And so I decided to start working on something, and I wasn't sure how it was going to come out. But I'm going to put this here, and it's still viewable on the camera. There, that's better. And what I came up with was something I have decided to call a Jammission. What it is, it's a jam inside a commission. So I didn't want a straight recreation. I chose, take this up one more time. I chose to get rid of the full black background and get rid of the top and the comics code. And so I was working from here down. And it was going to be 11 by 17. But the pictures here, which as you can see here, the pictures I have here are printed on my computer. And they are 8.5, 11 versions of that. This was the original pencil prelim that I got. And this is done by the Frame brothers, Brian and Brendan Frame. Love these guys. And it's a perfect recreation. And I had decided that I was going to also ask them for Joe Chill. You can see here, his back is to the viewer. And a friend of mine, when I sent it to him, and I said, hey, what do you think? And he said, you're going to pay somebody to draw somebody running away, and you're only going to see their back. And unfortunately, he's kind of small. Even on an 11 by 17, he's kind of small. Sorry for the mix-up. I had a little hiccup, and I'm trying to splice it into the rest of the video here. So where I was my friend was telling me that you're going to pay somebody to draw a small figure running away. So it's just the back. And he suggested somehow having the figure be somewhat turned around. And you can see here that he is turned back around this way. Sorry. Turned back around this way, looking back a little bit. And I accepted that as a possibility. And so I had added that to the questions of small changes I had sent to the Frame Brothers. They're very patient with me. And there's also, if I don't know if you can see it here, I think you can. Right here, this is trash in the alley. But this here looks like an upside down shark with the shark's mouth. And I asked them to remove that because it's like you couldn't not see it after you said it. And so, and also since I didn't want the black background everywhere like this, I decided on radiating lines everywhere. And I sent them a graphic as an idea. Then they sent me this. So they got the trash out of there. They got the shark's mouth out of there. But there was still something there kind of messing with what I thought might be Thomas Wayne's figure right in here, laying on the ground. So they turned the guy around. They added the radiating lines. I was very happy with that. And as it sat, I thought this was going swimmingly. And then they sent me an inked version, which I thought, again, and they took away the, or inked over it, the shark's, that trash that reminded me of a shark's body. And so what we have here, we have a commission, essentially, based on a Dick Giordano cover of Detective 457, with a jam inside of it. That's why I'm calling it a Jammission. Then I said I wanted, just like here, I wanted the blue on the outside and the flesh here. And so they sent me the final, and with the color on the lettering and the wording here and the logo. So this is what we have, which I said that is perfect. I have no doubt I can work with that. Now it's a matter of trying to figure out who I want to do it. And so I met them early at the show, and they gave me the piece, the full 11 by 17 piece, which also makes him a little bigger. And as I was talking to a couple artists trying to get the idea, what they said was, if you're going to do something like this, you have to start from the forward figure backwards. So you have to do Martha Wayne, then Bruce Wayne, then Thomas Wayne. He doesn't really enter into it because he's not part of this little grouping here. I said, okay. And somebody suggested, if you're going to do a woman like this, you might want to have a woman draw it. There are plenty of men who draw women excellently, but this was a suggestion. And the name that popped into my head quickly was someone who's done work for me before, Adriana Mello, who was on Birds of Prey for a while. She was doing, I think she was doing the covers, and I've had her do things for me at the show before, and she's great. So I brought it to her, and I decided I was going to see if I can get people to do grayscale, and just opposed to just a straight black and white outline drawing. So you're going to see the finished piece here, and I'll just go over it. I mean, holy crap. And so what we have here is, we have Adriana Mello doing Martha Wayne, not just grayscale. We got black, we got gray, we got white, we got a kind of a flesh tone that, like a brownish flesh tone. And she is in all her kind of rich person clothing glory. I think it looks wonderful. And I also think it has a tendency to set the tone for the other artists. I wasn't sure who I was going to get to do Bruce. But, I mean, it's a half a figure, but he's the center. He's the one. It's between Bruce and adult Bruce. And I knew I could find someone who wasn't going to mess it up. I knew it. I already knew the name, and I figured I'd bring it over to him. And Scott Hanna did exactly what Scott Hanna does. He doesn't change the art. He just enhances it with the ink or the gray tone, in this case with the sweater. And it was perfect. And then I had already talked to Phil Hester about Thomas Wayne. And I said, if you don't mind, because there's going to be other gray tones in there, if you could find, some gray tone spots. And it's a simplistic, not simplistic as in I'm knocking the guy. I'm saying in terms of it's aligned work with some gray tone And to me, everything just works here. Everything. He's farther away than Martha is. He's behind Bruce. And so there's going to be less of them. You have the torso here and the legs over here. Everything is great. So then I went to Tim Seeley to get Joe Chill. And I was asking her, I said, is it possible with a small figure like this, if there's some way you could get maybe a hint of a smile? And I'm thinking kind of a foreshadowing of the Joker, the future Joker. And he said he would try. And there is a hint. You have to look there, but it is there. But Tim Seeley did exactly what I needed. He did this. He did the wisp off the gun, and he's turned around a bit. And so you have the stairs over here that the frames had put in, just like in the cover, and a building side over here. And so I brought it back to the frames, and I was talking to him about the colors here. And I wanted something just like the cover, but only here, only up here. I wanted to leave the rest kind of black and white or shades of gray. And I said, could you put in that eerie green yellow? And so, of course, as usual, they did it brilliantly, and I was very happy with it, as usual. And I've had a couple people ask me, did you think to add in any colors or whatever? I said, no, because Martha's in gray tone. On the cover, she's in like a green tone. And so gray will work on the cover, but if there's gray tone here, I don't really want the gray tone on the ground. So I said, I'm just going to leave that as it is, kind of like a black and white dream. And that was my big project for Terrificon. Very happy with how it turned out. This may be my last jam. I am getting older. And it came together so well, I'm wondering if at some point something's going to really kind of, crap the bed. So that's what I have for Terrificon 2026. Another top show, as usual. Mitch Halleck puts a lot of effort into his show. He works with the artists. He gets them there. He treats them well. And that's why he gets quality names there. It's a comic and comic art based show with vendors and some celebrities and voiceover talent. I highly recommend Terrificon anytime you can get there. And I also thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, this Terrificon Art Hall recap, and have a good day.